look, I don't think it's over for crypto and altcoins. A lot of people are screaming for a bear market, saying things are over. And look, I'm not here to blow smoke up your butt. This is a PG channel, first of all. What I'm here to do today is to show you the on-chain data. Something very unique about crypto is the fact that we can actually see what's happening behind the scenes. Okay, but no one seems to be utilizing that amazing tool. So I'm here to show you what is actually happening. What are the whales doing? Literally, what are the whales doing? What are the guys who look more month to month, year to year, decade to decade doing, and not what retail people like you and I are doing, because we tend to panic quite a lot. So I'm sure you're quite frantic right now because your altcoins have definitely seen better days, because Bitcoin now is falling down. But rest assured, you're going to know at the end of this video, I think, exactly what we can expect to happen next. Now, obviously, there's been an escalation in the Israel versus Iran conflict. That's a pretty big one. And of course, lives have been lost. I don't want to get political here. It's never a good thing when people start losing lives. That's all I'm going to say about it. Unless this escalates into the WW3 word, which I highly doubt. I think the markets will eat this news up, as morbid as that is to say about such a horrible thing, okay? So I want to again dive into the charts, the data, the facts, looking at things like this, looking at things like this. Just, guys, giving you the full picture and allowing you to make a decision yourself. Now, first of all, very quickly, what are the whales doing? What are the guys like institutions, large investors, and even governments doing right now? Well, it can be summarized in one single chart: accumulator addresses. These are the guys who buy Bitcoin, but they don't sell it, okay? And you can see right now, I'm a bit jealous because I wish this was my altcoin portfolio, because accumulator addresses right now are at all-time highs and growing rapidly. You can just see how fast people who buy and hoard Bitcoin are buying. Now, if I zoom out here, you get a really good idea of just how fast this is actually growing. Now, like I said, what this truly means is the fact that whoever the hell is buying all of this Bitcoin believes the price of Bitcoin right now is undervalued for where it is about to go. Short term, not just long term. You can see these guys have no problem selling their Bitcoin if they think that the price of Bitcoin is about to drop. And they're usually actually pretty spot on with when they decide to sell, okay? Another way we can look at this is also OTC desk balance sheets. These are the guys who hold Bitcoin for the sole purpose of giving it to governments, large institutions, and even large private investors, like hopefully you and I can be one day, okay? So when this goes down, that means that these OTC desks are giving all their Bitcoin away. People are wanting to buy Bitcoin from them because whoever the hell's buying it, governments, institutions, whoever, believe the price of Bitcoin is undervalued for where it will go in the short term. You can see here they have no problem, again, selling it back to OTC desks. You can see here at the end or towards the top of a bull run back in 2018, they were selling it back to the OTC desks. That's, of course, a bearish sign. In the bear market, though, they were buying it up because the OTC desk was going down. Of course, when the price of Bitcoin they deemed was overvalued, overbought, they sold it back to the OTC desk balance sheets, or the OTC desks. You can see this whole entire bull run, called a bear market, whatever you want to call it, right? This whole entire time from back in 2022 to now, they have been buying like it was the bear market back here between 2018 and 2020. Okay, it's still going down. So again, whoever the hell these people are, they believe the price of Bitcoin is still undervalued for where it is going to go in the short term. And we can also look into the exchange balance sheets as well. This is more retail as well. So retail also believes that Bitcoin is undervalued for where it's going because Bitcoin is leaving exchanges. Now, yes, you may argue that a lot of this is people just, setting Bitcoin off exchanges to self-custody. That's also a good thing because people are, again, going on-chain, away from exchanges, meaning they believe Bitcoin is going to go up in price. So all of this is a really good sign. You can summarize all these charts with like the ETFs, accumulator addresses, exchanges, and OTC desks with this gray line here. This is total sell side liquidity. Okay, so when this goes down, that means that overall people are buying. Okay, so liquidity slushing around is drying up, and we're actually at levels right now we haven't seen since 2018. So all you have to know is the big boys, the people who are actually here looking more so month to month, year to year, decade to decade, are going, we think Bitcoin's undervalued. And retail, again, we are caught up in the headlines day to day. And honestly, I can't blame you or myself. We're emotional because we've got a lot of money on the line here. We don't have sometimes the time. We can't lose any of our money. But that is exactly what the market makers and the cabal do and want us to believe. Now, I do want to talk a little bit about, again, some of these support bands, because I think it's very important to assess what's happening based on moving averages. You can see here that this is what I call my bull run ribbon. Essentially, it's 4 moving averages. The big blue line down here is the 1-year SMA. The red line is the 200-day EMA. This is the 100-day EMA, and this is the 50-day EMA. Now, very importantly and very quickly, I want to point something out. First of all, we don't have to be concerned, in my opinion, the bull run's over until this blue line here is broken, like back over here, okay, on the weekly, and we close on the weekly beneath it. That's a warning sign, okay? And it's a definite confirmation when the moving averages actually close beneath it. That's a big, big red flag. We haven't had that yet. What we've had is Bitcoin respecting, okay, the bottom line, essentially. Now, one more bullish thing is what you'll notice with these moving averages is they like to condense. They kind of come to a point here, at least the smaller term moving averages. And when they do, in a bull run, the price of Bitcoin will explode up, okay? So you can see it happened once here. It happened over here. 8 months consolidation. These bands came together and bang, we had a massive explosion, okay? Also happened more recently over here. We did talk about this on the channel. And of course, we exploded to the upside. Now, what happens in these upswings, okay, is when Bitcoin, explodes, it respects this line here, which is the yellow line, the 50-day EMA. If it breaks beneath it, what we want to see here is it respect the 100-day EMA, okay, in orange, and again, fight back above it. If it breaks through the 50 and the 100, like back over here, it's a really bad sign. It's a sign of weakness, okay? So that means that the move is likely over. We can kind of see this playing out over here, where it again supports the 50, stays strong, uses the 100 as support, and then again, finally does break through with enough bearish news. But again, I'm pointing this out because right now we are respecting the 50, which means Bitcoin wants to stay in this uptrend. Whatever it's doing right now, macro speaking, it wants to stay in this general move, which is very, very bullish. Now, there is something else that's very, very bullish, and that's the fact that it doesn't require as much money as you may think to move the price of Bitcoin up. Now, this is important because, in my opinion, this will remove some of your fear and panic about Bitcoin moving down from $109,000 in a week to $104,000, okay? Because essentially, most people believe for Bitcoin to go up a 2x, so to go up to $208,000, it means there's going to have to be $2 trillion worth of buy pressure in the coin, but that's actually very wrong because the way it's found is with this, which is depth, order books. I'm not going to get into it. All you need to know is essentially for Bitcoin to 2x roughly, you only need about $178 billion right here worth of buy pressure. This includes $158 billion of sell pressure. Okay, so without getting into the nitty-gritty of it all, essentially Bitcoin can explode at the very drop of a hat. As a matter of fact, for Bitcoin to 10x, we're roughly talking about $1.93 trillion worth of actual money, actual buy pressure in the coin, and that accounts for 1.7 trillion of sell pressure. And that's going to $1 million, which would be a market cap of 21 trillion. So all I'm trying to say is once we have institutions fully on board, and once we have, I think, a very important thing I'll mention here in a second, which is stablecoins also doing what they're doing in the US, it's going to pretty much allow everyone and everything to get into Bitcoin, which, like I said, will rapidly accelerate the price faster than any of us can imagine, because it's just hard to believe 100K Bitcoin, because we've been fighting so hard for it, could possibly move to 200K very quickly. But again, the math says it's possible. So here's what I believe happens next, okay? Like I said, Bitcoin can move up very, very quickly here in the right conditions. Now, Bitcoin usually finds itself in what's called a bull run ascending channel. Essentially, if I untoggle this, a period where it kind of moves up and trends up like this within these two trend lines here for a whole bear market until something very important happens, until it finally breaks this upper trend line here. So when the price comes up and it breaks this and it explodes, which it has done, by the way, in every single bull run. It did back over here, exploded. It did back here in the 2017 bull run, exploded, and also did the very, very first bull run back over here in 2014. When it does this, this actually causes alt season. So the people who watch this channel know this already. You can see here Bitcoin dominance in pink actually falls whilst the price goes up. And what that means is, well, the price of Bitcoin 13x's or 5 or 6x's. As a matter of fact, altcoins go up even more. Okay, so they're gaining more market share. So what I'm saying is what we're eyeing off is a move for Bitcoin that breaks this upper trend line, not falls back into this, which would, of course, cause alt season. Now, there are some very important metrics that I'm eyeing off to make this possible. First of all, it's this colorful chart behind me. This is what I call the Bitcoin cycle clock. It's a chart and an indicator I created, which takes 16 indicators and says, okay, is Bitcoin over or undervalued? So in blue and in green, it is undervalued. In red, especially dark red, it is overvalued. And it's a pretty good, as you can see here, gauge into when is a decent time to buy and sell, okay? So essentially, why I'm eyeing this off is because Bitcoin now being at a score of about 49% in cool down here, it's a very good sign considering we are at around all-time highs, okay? So it's sitting here. And the reason being is because if you have a look at every single time in Bitcoin's history, when it actually breaks through these Bitcoin ascending channels, it's usually in red or orange. Now, that's important because, again, red or orange indicates that people are in significant profit. And what happens when people are in profit? They take profit, which means there's a likelihood that we fall back into this ascending channel, okay, and we don't actually break the top trend line. So the fact that we are yellow right here gives me confidence that as Bitcoin goes up, we are likely going to be breaking this, okay? Because again, if we were red or dark red as we hit this line like we have been over here and over here, we aren't able to break through it and sustain above it because people will take profit. So that's a really, really bullish sign in my opinion. This chart here also does show the same thing, which is having a look at traders, so people buying and selling Bitcoin frequently, their average buy price being this middle line and kind of using deviation bands, so these dotted lines above it and below it, to say, okay, well, if the price moves up a certain amount or down a certain amount, are traders buying it or selling it? And you can see that when it does extend up enough, traders will take profit because it's resistance on this upper trend line. You can see over here to some degree as well. Actually, 2017's bull run is the best example of this. You can see here, resistance, bit of resistance, 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 and so on. So basically, traders like to take profit up here, and they also keep buying along their average buy-in price. It makes sense, all right? So it's a very important line to eye off. And actually, as a matter of fact, the resistance zone we have to be careful of ends up being about $153,000 from the current price, which, funnily enough, ends up being the top trend line here. Okay, it's about $150,000. So that would, at least in a different perspective, give me enough confidence to say we're likely able to break through this, again, based on traders and when they're likely to take profit. Global liquidity is also going up. We're about here right now on an 80-day lead. So we're right here. We likely can experience, roughly speaking, kind of like a 2x move coming from what we have done so far. I mean, look, you should really not do that. You shouldn't look at like the ups and the downs of global liquidity and expect the same results. But needless to say, we are in a continuous uptrend still. Okay, so that's, of course, a good sign nevertheless. This is all adding up, in my personal opinion, to give us a possibility of breaking out of this upper trend line. Again, if you haven't already caught on, causing alt season, the breakdown of Bitcoin's dominance, which is what we're waiting for essentially. That is all cherry on top. This is the true driver of actually breaking out of the channel, which is the global business cycle and global liquidity cycle. So you'll notice the global liquidity cycle here. First of all, we're in an uptrend. That's fantastic. But we're at a point of very high resistance. Based on history, this middle point here has always kind of been a bit of a difficult point for global liquidity to pass through. So as long as we can break through this, which we're kind of doing right now, actually, if you zoom in, then I believe once we do and we continue upwards, that's likely a good cause for this to go up. Now, this, I think, is a true gauge into alt season and when we can actually expect that to happen. This is the global business cycle. As you may know from Raoul Paul, basically when this goes up, that means that people like you and I, we are spending more money because the business cycle going up means that, again, businesses are noticing people actually buying more of their products. So again, that just means people have excess capital, which I think a good little indication here is global liquidity going up. So this kind of ends up front running. You can see here the business cycle. Okay, so it happens before the business cycle. Same here. Okay, same here. Again, seeing this go up before this starts to go up may be a sign that this begins to go up soon. Altcoins particularly are the furthest point along the risk curve in any investor's portfolio. Okay, so what that means is no one's investing in altcoins unless they have capital they're willing to lose. That's essentially how it works. So we are waiting for that again, but when that does come, that should essentially give us the full fuel to send it parabolic, because like I said, this, and this are showing signs we have enough momentum to, I think, push up sooner rather than later. Now, one very important aspect I will finish up here on is stablecoins. Now, stablecoins market cap is increasing. As a matter of fact, we are right now 75% higher than the previous bull run's all-time high of about $150 billion. Now, what does this mean? Stablecoins are essentially part of the fuel that pushes Bitcoin and altcoins higher. So if we have a look here into the SSRO, so this chart in the bottom here, this is stablecoins versus Bitcoin. So when this goes down, that means stablecoins have relative strength over Bitcoin in their market cap. And when this goes up, this means Bitcoin has relative strength over stablecoins. So essentially, this is always going to have a pullback here because there's only so much momentum that Bitcoin can continue to have where stablecoins can no longer supplement a move higher. Now you can see every time that this SSRO has retraced beneath the midpoint in here, and here, since basically the start of the bull run, we've had these massive moves up. So right now we're at the midpoint, and this tells me, I think, as long as we see continuous macro bullish news and things don't go full panic mode, we're likely going to see a move of roughly double what we had right now, which is going to be about a 40 to 50% move, which will put us at around about $150,000. So again, we're at about a 40% move right now. A 40% move is about $150,000, which I think, again, will help us blow out of this ascending channel. I am of the firm belief we see the path to alt season chart somewhat still play out. And the reason being is because we are at the very tail end of the bearish momentum, if you will. And that's going to show on this chart here. This is alts versus Bitcoin's dominance. You can see the same pattern has played out the last two bull runs as it is playing out right now. Essentially, in a sort of bull run for altcoins, we see a 5-wave impulse or bullish pattern. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 waves. That's the bull run right there. We then see the conclusion of the bull run come in 3 waves. This is a corrective pattern, so A, B, and C. We kind of move into a falling wedge here where altcoins eventually break out of this wedge, and you can see go into another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bullish impulse pattern. And then right now we're at the, again, very tail end of the bear market. Corrective pattern A, B, and C, falling into yet again the same wedge we saw over here, which you can see is getting to the very, very tail end of that. Now, I have no idea if this will play out, but right now it is playing out like it did back in the previous cycle. So we could definitely see another 5-wave impulse pattern in which I do think large caps pump first and the smaller caps pump in that last and final 5th wave. Finally, this is, I think, a very important chart. Alts and ETH versus Bitcoin. So it's essentially everything apart from stablecoins versus Bitcoin. And you can see here that we kind of have this head and shoulders pattern conclude each and every single bull market here for altcoins. So again, alts have their bull run, head and shoulders bearish, we fall down. Okay, find the lows down here. 2021, head and shoulders, we kind of come down. We've now hit the floor. Okay, so we haven't had the same head and shoulders pattern play out here, which means that I think we're actually at the lows, not the highs. Crypto specifically, it's torture. We're all likely at a rough loss on our portfolios. We're all absolutely sick of the headlines, the macro bearish headlines, the crypto bearish headlines. We're sick of the manipulation. All I can tell you right now, moving averages, indicators, everything I'm looking at is still signaling we are in a bull run. It's just that we have fatigue. We are sick of it. And unfortunately, that's, I think, one of the ways in which most people don't actually succeed. It's because they lack the patience. And trust me, our patience obviously is being tried right now. So guys, let me know your thoughts down below. How are you feeling? What are you doing? Did you find this video helpful? If you did, leave a like, especially if you made it the whole way through. And for today's emoji, I'm thinking it's the guy with the sunglasses. Call it the cool guy emoji because I think you're pretty cool for making it this far. All right, guys. Talk to you tomorrow. Take care. Bye-bye.